9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour. This weekend, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints will host its 195th Annual General Conference. John Gleason with UDOT says that's going to mean a lot of extra people in the downtown area.
There are a lot of things that are scheduled this weekend. General Conference, we've heard of a protest that may be happening. You're going to want to check your traffic apps and just see what the trouble spots may be.
You can listen to all 5 sessions of General Conference right here on KSL News Radio. We'll have special programming in between each session of the conference. Our coverage begins tomorrow morning at 9:30. Reservations are now open to tour the temple in Syracuse, Utah. Open house will run every day except Sundays from May 10th to the 31st. The walking tour will last about 45 minutes and go through the temple. The temple will be dedicated on Sunday, June 8th, and only be accessible to certain members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints after that. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, the nation's job report exceeded analysts' expectations last month.
Total non-farm payroll employment rose by 228,000 in March, nearly 100,000 jobs over the consensus. Job gains came in healthcare, transportation, and warehousing. Considering sweeping DOGE layoffs, federal government employment declined. Despite the unexpected gains, the nation's unemployment rate last month was little changed at 4.2%.
ABC's Jim Ryan reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 4.25% now. That's 1,712 points. We're at 39,064. Coming up, KSL weather. Looks like a few clouds today and then a warming trend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Did you hear? A recent stash of $10 gold Liberty coins from the 1800s has been found. These gorgeous gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck in the late 1800s. And less than 200 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling this gold find an incredible opportunity. Call 1-800-917-4635 and you are guaranteed a $10 gold Liberty coin minted by the U.S. Mint in the 1800s. But with extremely limited availability, you must call now. These gold Liberty coins from the 1800s are still in uncirculated condition. That is history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-917-4635. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $40 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-917-4635 now to secure your $10 gold Liberty coins dated from the 1800s before they sell out. That's 1-800-917-4635.
How does a soccer club born in an unlikely place,
Utah? You sure you want to do that in Utah?
built with players no one else wanted,
We knew no one believed in us.
reach the league's highest heights?
We finally did it. It was like just this feeling of getting to the top of the mountain.
How does that same team find a way to shatter expectations in the midst of a fight for its own survival?
Our club is burning to the ground as we speak.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and in a new podcast, Making of a Moment, the RSL story, we take a closer look at one of those iconic sports moments.
Soccer is a crazy game, and we saw it firsthand tonight.
And unravel how knowing the truth of these moments can transform what they mean.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now. Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Social Security is with you through life's journey from birth to retirement. As your life changes year to year, so do your needs. For over 80 years, Social Security has helped to meet your needs and is committed to improving access to the services that make a difference in your life. Today, you can verify your earnings, estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, manage your benefits, and even change your address, all from the comfort of your home. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account with built-in benefits. And here is Heather Kelly.
Well, the roads are dry throughout Utah, Salt Lake, Davis, and Weber counties. No problems on I-15 northbound or southbound. But if you go into the higher elevations, especially Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon, those roadways are still wet. And we still see a few snow showers move through at the higher elevations. In Big Cottonwood Canyon, snow is still sticking to portions of the roadway, especially down the center of Big Cottonwood Canyon and on the shoulders. So that could be a little bit slick and icy. Just use caution through there. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialists. Whipple that away. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be partly cloudy. We do have that slight chance of rain or snow, as Heather mentioned, in the higher elevations. Highs should be around 53. Tomorrow, more sun and 55. We get up to 61 on Sunday. Right now, it's 39 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Doesn't matter how many times I tell myself, do not look at the market. Do not look at the market, David. What do? I even use my full name. I don't even say Dave. I say, David, do not look at the market. But sure enough, I just keep typing in Dow Jones today. Yeah, we're down another 1,200 points. If you were wondering, for those keeping track, for those getting heartburn over their 401k, yeah, down another 1,200 points. We're at, what are we about? 38,000, 39,000 right now. We dip below 40,000.
David, don't look at the market.
Mara, just keep being that good angel on my shoulder. Don't sell. Don't sell. If you didn't know, Mara Carabello filling in for Debbie Dujanovic today. And Mara, when we're looking at the market and we see these, obviously this is all tied to Trump's tariffs. What surprises me a little bit is the tariffs, not a surprise at all. Trump couldn't have said the word tariff more times on the campaign trail if he had tried. It was like it was on loop.
Right.
So this is not a surprise. What is a surprise is the market's reaction, and we have yet to really feel the sting of tariffs yet. But the markets are freaking out over it.
Yeah, and I think it's also a surprise, the percentage. We weren't sure. I think there was no doubt in most people's minds that he was going to levy some. In fact, he gave us a couple of false starts, right? He said, cars watch out. That was about 3 weeks ago. And then he gave him a little bit of a reprieve. But these are some pretty heavy tariffs, too. You see that response now already this morning with China saying, oh, really? United States, we're looking at 34%. China's looking at targeting rare earth minerals, meaning we are officially in the midst of a trade war.
And now that we've hit the trade war, we haven't felt it yet, see it, but we can start figuring out. We got enough people doing the math, crunching the numbers, that we know how this is going to affect our everyday goods.
Yeah, and here's the challenge with this. So the political arguments are all in the long run arguments. Whether this will level up, whether it will stay, that's in the long run. What we do know of economic conditions that are just facts, in the short run, prices will go up. I mean, it's just a call and response. So we are going to feel it. The question will be, what's the consumer response to it? And, we are feeling some of it right away. I had a conversation yesterday with a man who bought a boat 6 months ago, a Utah guy, and his boat was supposed to be delivered this week. And this is a lifelong savings thing. And his dealer called and said, I just got to tell you, if your boat does not show up on yesterday, if your boat doesn't show up on Thursday, I'm going to have to charge you $100,000 more because of tariffs.
$100,000.
He was losing his mind. And good news, story ends, the boat apparently docked in California yesterday. But if the boat had docked this morning, if the barge had come in this morning, he's up $100,000 on a $350,000 boat because of tariffs. So I do think if you're buying cars particularly or items like that, you're going to see it. And I mean, food prices are what's next, and that hits everybody's pocketbook. Joining
us right now from the Deseret News, Lois Collins, and this is the very thing you tackled, is food prices expected to rise because of the new tariffs. Walk us through some of the places where we can see this happening? What are we going to be, as we're loading up our grocery cart? We've already seen it skyrocket through inflation, and now we're going to possibly see it skyrocket through tariffs.
So what people don't realize is that about 20% of our agricultural goods and our food comes through imports. So the places where it's going to show up immediately are probably produce. And part of that is, I'm old enough that I remember where you had seasonal fruit, but now seasonal fruit is all year round, and I like that. If I want watermelon, I want it today, not in August. So that's an area where we're going to see it is with fruits and vegetables, particularly fruits. We're going to see it with some meat products. We import a surprising amount of beef and lamb, and almost all of our seafood is imported. About 80% of our seafood comes in from somewhere else. So that's going to be impacted. There's a little bit of a break because things that fall under the U.S., Mexico, Canada agreement won't have the extra tariffs on them. And we do import most of a ton of our stuff. Food stuff comes from Canada and from Mexico, so that helps. But people don't realize, you'll see it in cereal, because cereal, we import the grains, a lot of them. Everything you eat is going to be hit by this.
Yeah, and as you suggest, we've grown accustomed, and most of us like it, that you want what you want. You walk into the grocery store, you want the selection. I remember our during COVID, where there was occasionally a supply chain issue, and we were just like, what's going on? We need access. You start looking at some of these numbers. Guatemala is our top importer of bananas.
Right.
$1 billion worth there. Grapes, cranberries, blueberries. I'm looking through Lois's list. Pineapples, mushrooms, apple juice. Like many of the staples that we don't think about where they come from, they are going to be directly subject to these tariffs.
Seasonal fruits that's such a great point. I'd forgotten about that. Like there were times during the year you couldn't even get it.
That's right.
Yeah, right now the only thing you can't get year round is probably cranberries and persimmons, which are two of my favorite things. But everything else you can pretty much get year round.
What's a persimmon?
A persimmon looks like a tomato, tastes like heaven.
It's beautiful, kind of orangey yellow color.
But they look like tomatoes. They're like orangey, and they're delightful.
A winter fruit.
Yeah.
Never heard of a persimmon? A palate of a 5-year-old, apparently.
That's why you listen, Dave. Like, we're full of good
I thought you just made up a name for a food.
No, so it's an interesting fact, though, that we do import last year we imported $213 billion worth of agricultural products. And if all of those have tariffs, then yikes.
Yeah, so then it becomes a question of, we know that this election really was about the economy and how we were all feeling about taxes and how much we were paying every month. And it's an interesting question now. One would expect that April is going to be increased prices on foods, maybe even if you needed a big purchase, like a car or a durable good, those prices might go up. And Dave, I think what we're hearing from economists is those prices will likely go up immediately. Yeah. It will be a market response immediately.
Food first.
Yep. And then we'll see. But again, when people are sitting back and waiting, they won't have to wait long. I think you'll feel this probably the next time you go to the store.
Well, and produce, it's like an inventory thing. So people may have cars parked on their parking lot to sell, but they don't have cucumbers and grapes and tomatoes that are going to sit around and wait.
Yeah, they already needed to order those. The shelf life on those requires
perishable.
That they're ordering every week.
I didn't realize that we imported $251 million worth of potatoes. Step it up, Idaho. You've got to take care of our potato problem. We can't be worrying about Canada for that. Lois Collins, thank you so much. Great article in the Deseret News. So you can read Lois all the time. A great variety of articles. But this one, will tariffs drive food prices up even more? Well, likely. Okay, so here's the question I have for you, Maura. When it comes to tariffs, so often we just assume that 10%, 20, 30, 40%, whatever that is going to be passed on immediately to us. If I'm a business and I'm buying from Canada or Brazil or whatever it might be, I realize people are only going to pay a certain amount of money for a product. Right? I'm never going to pay $5 for green beans. I'll just stop eating green beans.
Right.
Like, I have a limit. I will only pay, $2.99 for green beans.
Right.
Is there an argument to be made that these won't all get passed on to us? We're not going to see a 10, 20, 30% because people will just stop purchasing them. Therefore, the supplier is going to have to give a 10% cut into their profits, or maybe you split the difference because all of this has to get taken into account.
Yeah, I mean, most suppliers, most mid-level companies can't take the cut. It has to be passed on to the consumer. So you may see them, you saw it already, we've seen in the Michigan area a bunch of layoffs. So what happens though, Dave, is when the company takes the cut, it means layoffs, less sales, and your market slows down. So it's hurt either way. So you're going to either pay more, or if you stop buying, if I stop buying, I've just cut off that economic segment, and the whole community, you're going to lose a couple of jobs of people who used to sell green beans. We'll stay with this. And you're going to cut off the green bean company, just got cut in half. And so I'm going to feel that in the community, and I'm also not buying green beans anymore.
But we can't have it both ways where we say all these greedy corporations are making money hand over fist and billions of dollars, and then say, oh, but if we have any sort of tariff or if we increase prices, then we're going to be slashing. Wouldn't that just slash into their profits?
Yeah, and I mean, this has been an argument in America for years in that you've had a segment of economists saying, what we know is the rich are getting richer. Well, one of the reasons is that bosses and owners make more. The disparity between the top of the company and the worker is much broader. So you're saying, could it possibly be an unintended consequence that maybe companies they lower their expectations? But the problem is the shareholders haven't lowered their expectations. So that's the long run. That's not the short run. The other thing that's happened with America consumers is, a good example for that is socks. If I can buy socks from a country that maybe is paying arguably non-living wages, but that made my socks $3.49, and this company is selling $7 socks, America, we've been buying the $3.50 sock.
Okay, this brings up an interesting argument that I'd like to pivot a little bit, because it's very easy to focus on the tariffs as how it's going to devastate us financially and all this worrying and hand-wringing, because this is real money and these are real budgets and we are absolutely affected by it. But I would like to ask, instead of looking at it as exclusively a financial argument, is there a moral argument to be made about trade in America?
Oh, this is interesting. I mean, I like this. For me, it all fits under the umbrella of global trade. I think we're talking about it. And as you pointed out, we will continue and should spend a lot of time on the tariffs, which is the tax part. But it is an interesting question on global trade. Does America need to? Should we? Is there a case for support that we should care about the conditions of global trade? And in my mind, there's two big categories there. One is like working conditions. Who are we buying from? Literally, who is doing the work that produces? And should I care about the who when I buy something? And then the other part is, should I care if a smaller economy is failing because of America's global trade policy?
I think we are so concerned and so addicted to low prices that I can buy a 100-inch TV for $1,000. I'm so addicted to that. I do not care who put it together. I do not care what it took. And that is a moral failing. That is a problem. We should be thinking about these things, because I was pulling up some numbers. Vietnam, what they make, what a manufacturer will make, $353 per month. Cambodia, who we just hit a 49% tax on, $225 a month for a manufacturing. So shoes, sweaters, you go to Shein, you're like, I'm so excited. I got 14 shirts for $100. Well, they're $225 a month. In Nigeria, $44 a month, according to Statista. We know that the Democratic Republic of Congo had forced labor camps going on to harvest cobalt, which is crucial for battery building. We don't want to know that. We just want to buy our electric vehicles. We don't want to know where the rare minerals are coming from. And I think for far too long, we've looked at the bottom line, and we haven't looked in any way, or we've certainly turned a blind eye to the working conditions.
Yeah, I mean, I think the questions we need to start asking ourselves more are, do we need 4 of that, or could we get by with 1? The tricky question when you're looking at all the dynamics of these increased taxes is we need to stop hurting the working family who is just making ends meet. And I think one way of doing that is to have us consider consumption. How much? Should we pay slightly more? And in the long run, if we paid more, would we get better living wages, maybe even onshore more? Because America costs more because we have a standard of expectations where we say kids in America can't be treated that way. Workers in America can't be treated that way. And if we applied that ethic globally, would we actually have serviceable prices, but more a holistic economy that says, I do know where my goods come from and I'm comfortable with those conditions, and yet Guatemala may be able to produce something fairly but slightly better? And should we look at that whole thing? I think it's important. I mean, I'll say we grappled over this with not wanting to point out that tariffs are hurting people. We didn't want to move on from that subject too quickly. But this is the ideal time when we are all thinking about America's role and our role as consumers. I think we have to start thinking about conditions more.
When we look at bringing manufacturing back to America, we can say the minimum wage is $7.25, right? No one's paying $7.25, or the less than 1% of companies out there. My 14-year-old kid is looking right now at jobs for 14-year-olds or 15-year-olds that are paying at least $10 an hour or $12 an hour, right? That's what the market has deemed an appropriate wage, right? So if you can't even get a 15-year-old for less than $10 an hour, but over in Vietnam, you're paying $353 a month. That's $220 an hour. And that's if they're just working 40 hours a week. $220 an hour.
Wow.
We're looking at it and we say that would be absolutely criminal. It would be wrong in America. If it's wrong in America, why isn't it wrong in other countries? And I think realistically, no one can make the argument that that's fine. Right?
Yeah.
That no one can justify, they're making a $1.50 an hour or $2 an hour. But it's fine. It's fine there. It's not fine here.
But okay, so you and I are both agreeing on, we should care about this. Yeah. But we're addicted to cheap prices.
Totally.
So how do you and I not sound preachy? I'm totally. Sort of tempted that I'm like, I don't feel preachy about this. But we are as Americans, so addicted to cheap, even though often I use my addiction to cheapness to overconsume, right? Instead of buying one high-quality thing, I buy 4 4 for $20, and I just consume too much. How do we change that mindset without feeling like we're also being chastised?
I don't know if there is a way. A little bit like the way we diet. If I am looking at a cookie and I'm looking at some broccoli, I'm not going to feel the difference eating the cookie or eating the broccoli in a day. But if I go a year with eating broccoli instead of cookies, then I'm going to see a difference. I'm going to feel a difference. And you made a point early on, and I don't think we talk about it enough, as you said, there's a long-term argument to be made about tariffs. Mm-hmm. We have to force ourselves into looking long-term, because I think part of the problem with the way we run this country right now is it is today, tomorrow, and if we're crazy, I'll look at Friday.
Yeah.
Right? I'll look a week down the road. We never look what's the best policy a year, 2, 10 years down the road.
I should clarify. I think tariffs are bad, and I think they're going to crater our economy in the long term. But I do think what we have to look at, you're right, all of these policies, I think where we went wrong from the greatest generation. This is introspective. I'm looking at myself and saying I am too insistent right now on my today. And I need to start looking a little more, making more sacrifices about what's ahead for everybody. What does this mean? And I think we need to get rid of the selfishness. You know, one of the things we know about human behavior is the happier you are, the better off you are. You kind of get a little lazy. Like you're not feeling a hardship. And I think what we're saying, and Utahns are lucky, many of us have gone abroad. Service missions really help with this, where you go and experience, you know, we were talking, there's so many young kids who come and say, I did not know poverty existed at that level until I left. That's kind of globally what we're talking about is, I think in addition to looking at tariffs, if Americans and Utahns, if we could start looking and saying, what are the consequences of our buying actions? What an interesting time to ask yourself this question when you're also being faced with paying more. And in a weird way, it kind of fits. Like at the time you're like, what are you talking about, guys? I just paid more than I ever have for my grocery bill. Well, what a time to start sorting through where you want to put your money and where you want to put your values.
Still a tough pill to swallow, though.
Oh, yeah.
When we come back, the Supreme Court just handed the FDA a win regarding e-cigarettes. Vaping. Is this going to protect the kids? Let's have that discussion next.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Let me tell you an amazing story. Last week, a customer came in. They were a creative director for an agency, and they were frustrated that their old, slow computer wasn't processing their files quick enough. He had a big project due and could not afford any delays. Well, we hooked him up with one of our new, powerful 2025 desktops for only $999, and he was able to complete his project with ease. Take one home today. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else do you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $999, PCLaptops.com.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Looking for the best value in Utah for your storage needs? Apex Shed Company is your answer. With over 30 years of experience, they pride themselves on building the highest quality sheds, chicken coops, greenhouses, and more. Don't miss their winter blowout sale happening now. For a limited time, take 10% off any shed when you mention this ad. That's up to $1,000 off. Whether you need a basic storage solution or a fully customized shed, they've got you covered. Customer satisfaction is their top priority, and their glowing Google reviews speak for themselves. Help them keep their skilled team busy this winter and benefit from the best prices of the year. Visit apexshedcompany.com or call 801-754-3334 to learn more. Apex Shed Company. Nobody builds a better shed. Remember, this sale won't last forever, so act fast and secure your discount today. Visit apexshedcompany.com or call 801-754-3334 today.
Dave and Debbie. It's impossible to digest and consume all of the news that's now coming at us through either social media or through web pages or through the radio. Pick what is most impactful in your life and focus on that. And that's what Dave and I do every single morning. We pick those issues that are most important to our listeners and we boil it down so it's digestible. It's simple to understand.
I think we're trying to find the essence of the story. You know, you can't be an expert on all things, but that doesn't mean you can't be curious and really find out more and educate yourself and learn the complexities of an issue. But I think all of us start at ground zero on everything. Ask questions, show that curiosity.
And then if you need more research, you can always go to KSLNewsRadio.com and learn more.
Listen for Dave and Dujanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour: a man is dead after an officer-involved shooting early this morning. Ogden City Police Chief Jake Suby says members of the Ogden Metro Gang Task Force were responding to a call at a Motel 6 in West Haven. They were pursuing a suspect wanted in connection to a robbery 3 days ago. Suby says they were a known white supremacist gang member with extensive criminal history.
One gang task force officer sustained a gunshot wound to the lower leg during the incident. While the injury is significant, thankfully it is non-life-threatening and the officer has been released from the hospital.
The officers then shot at the suspect, killing them. The officers involved were placed on leave while an investigation is underway. Roads around 7400 South State Street are back open after being closed all morning. Unified Police say an armed suspect barricaded themselves in a dump truck. A shelter in place was in order for several hours but has been lifted. There is currently no threat to the public. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: the Health and Human Services Secretary admitting that DOJ dug too deep at his department. We will continue to follow that story for you this morning on KSL. Right now, let's see where we are in the markets. The Dow is off 3 3/10%. That's 1,340 points. We're at 39,205. And coming up, we've got some clouds today, and then a warming trend kicks in. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:31. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Master Electrical Service has been around since 1954. Yeah, generations, folks. That's how long Master Electrical Service has been around. We have some exciting news. They just joined Mountain Home Services. So what that allows is expertise in so many different ways. You don't need to make 50 phone calls and go through a dozen companies. You can just call Mountain Home Services and get your EV chargers taken care of, your electrical needs, generators, recessed lighting, HVAC, plumbing, you name it, they can take care of it. And it all comes with this upfront pricing guarantee. What that means is when they come out and they give you a bid, they will honor that bid to the penny. No hidden fees, 100% satisfaction guarantee. All you have to do is reach out to them. MountainHomeServices.com is the website. That's MountainHomeServices.com, or you can give them a call, 801-543-2222. I'm never going to forget this number. It's so easy to remember, 543-22222222.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account with built-in benefits. And here is Heather Kelly.
We do have a vehicle that was on fire up in Box Elder County. Now, this is mostly affecting people coming over from Idaho border down toward Brigham City, toward Tremonton. Originally, they had shut down I-84 southbound just before you get into the Tremonton area, but they've now opened the left lane, or at the very least the left shoulder, so traffic is getting by. No real delays in that area. In fact, you're not really going to see delays anywhere across the Wasatch Front in Utah, Salt Lake, and Davis counties. But if you do see something on the roadways, don't forget to text us at the KSL Mountain Home Service text line at 57500. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll be partly cloudy today, slight chance of rain or snow in the elevations. The highs will be around 53, 55 tomorrow, 61 and sunshine on Sunday. Right now it's 39 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I'll never forget, before COVID hit, we were having major conversations about vaping because it had really exploded onto the scene.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, vaping's been around for a number of years, but it became so popular. It started outpacing conventional cigarettes. And we're trying to figure out, what do we do with this new technology that is smoking, but kind of not, smoking light?
Did we all understand it was smoking? It had nice little accoutrements, some gadgets I could buy, things to hold in your hand. And really importantly, it came in a variety of different flavors. Some delicious, juicy watermelons and pineapple and peaches and cream. And a lot of flavors came out when you started using a vape pen to smoke instead of using a traditional cigarette paper to smoke.
My favorite names, having never used any vape product, but I will say Killer Custard Blueberry, Rainbow Road, Pineapple Express, right? There's just a million different flavors, and they all have all the cool names, and they sound fruity and delicious. And it's so strange because vaping can come in a number of different ways. You actually have nicotine-less vapes. You have vapes with nicotine that taste like cigarettes, so it's the menthol, tobacco.
Okay.
You have all these crazy flavors. And then you have vapes that have THC in it, cannabis. They've got some marijuana in it. So there's a lot that you can do with the vapes.
Right.
And so what we're talking about is the traditional vapes, the ones that have nicotine in it, that are flavored. And the FDA came in and they said, listen, this is classic Joe Camel.
Mm-hmm.
This is, hey, look how cool smoking is, kids.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 50s, we're going to get everybody addicted to smoking. And we probably figured this out way too long, or it took us way too long to figure this out, that conventional smoking was being marketed to kids. We learned that, and it was very obvious, and we started, cracking down on that. Well, vapes were kind of following the same path as the cigarette companies did.
Yeah, and this has made the headlines for both Utah and the nation in the last handful of days. Like this, as you said, I think we sort of really hit a peak just right before COVID, and now this is right back. And Utah has just passed some major legislation around vaping.
No flavors.
No flavors. Say no to all of the flavors, which leaves you with, just as you suggested, with just vaping that tastes like cigarettes. So a traditional nicotine flavor or a menthol flavor, but none of the juicy, tempting flavors. Under the very argument, if you listen to the bill sponsor and the pro argument for this bill that, by the way, passed, it was about kids and about they felt like these flavor choices were unduly marketing to kids and making it tempting and fun to vape.
Mango flavored, cranberry, pineapple, blueberry crush, or whatever it might be. Is it a fair argument, or when we're looking at these, to say that just because it's not flavored like feet, then it is therefore flavored for kids?
Yeah. That is the argument, right? It's a good point. And the contrary to that, so here's what the vape shops are saying. One, they're saying, if you ban these, you're going to really put us out of business. So this is real for us. This won't just give us a ding. And again, I'll point out that there's the vape shops, and then there's also like grocery stores and gas stations that sell vapes. But vape shops are saying, you're going to put us out of business. And is it the role of government to put us out of business? And then number two, they argue this and say, wait a minute, it's not just about kids. We believe that people who are trying to quit smoking have a better time if they move from a full-fledged nicotine cigarette. It's more appealing. It doesn't remind them of smoking. If they move to a vape that is cookies and cream or a peaches and cream, it helps them move away from the flavors and the habits that were addicting them.
And we're going to go through a little bit what Johns Hopkins has to say about vaping in general, but let me touch on that a little bit, okay, of the flavors, and should we be determining whether or not you can have a certain flavored vape, right? So think of alcohol. Can you have a daiquiri, a fruity daiquiri that has alcohol that tastes good, or does it have to be straight tequila or straight vodka, right? Because what's the argument to vapes that doesn't maybe cross over into alcohol. Like we don't want to change the flavor of alcohol because that would be marketing it to kids, because kids think daiquiris are pretty and they look nice, but they're alcoholic and it makes it a little easier to drink down versus just the raw alcohol itself.
Yeah, I mean, so one, there's no conditions. The alcohol ban is a higher threshold. In the state of Utah, you can only buy it in liquor stores. I mean, we've already put a ton of restrictions around alcohol. So one is this catching it up with that? But I think also there's a health difference between alcohol. Alcohol's not good for you, but it's not objectively bad depending on how you use it. We know that nicotine's going to hurt you from the first hit. And we know that we saw a spike in childhood use. Now, we'll also, in fairness, lay out the argument that the vaping companies have said, wait a minute, kids' use has gone down in the last couple of years. So if you're asserting that these juicy flavors are going down. Now, what's winning the day on the argument is, okay, fine. Yeah, it's not maybe fair to adult smokers who are trying to wean themselves. But the big argument that I have to say I feel compelled by is, we don't care. If it is going to hurt and entice our kids, a lot of this pre-done litigation is the Joe Camel. What we went through for decades to show that these companies were actually targeting the youth. I don't think we've had that same adjustment to alcohol, but we really did know that early on in the 50s and 60s, cigarette companies were targeting youth. There's an argument to be made that these flavors are just targeting the youth, and that was what won the day. What won the day is, we're going to come out in favor of our kids.
The more we learn about vaping, and there are stories, and we've talked about it on this show, about serious health effects. People have died from vaping, so it's kind of a narrow street to cross when you're having this conversation that Johns Hopkins has acknowledged. Vaping's better than smoking, but that still doesn't mean that vaping is good. So Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, and water, right? I mean, obviously you should be drinking water, but is Diet Coke better than actual Coke? I mean, this is kind of the argument. Is vaping the Diet Coke of the smoking world?
Yeah, maybe. It may be. And that's what a lot of folks are saying. And also, if you're an adult in America, you're also going to say, I kind of have the right to drink Coke. Whether it's good for me or not, I get to make that choice. I get to decide for myself, which was part of the Utah law. The Utah law originally had this part that said law enforcement could come in and take away all these products and without a warrant. And the Utah judges said, hey, listen, no, man, you're still going to have to get a warrant. It's not a free-for-all. These are adult shops offering legitimate products to adults, and they should be allowed to go and make those. Now, again, a reminder on the ban, though, now when you go to buy your vape products, you are only getting a couple of flavor choices.
Just a couple of flavors. And interestingly enough, the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 in favor of the FDA that says, the FDA said, listen, no fruity flavors, no crazy flavors. It was like 1 million different flavor products, lots of different. And the Supreme Court stood up and said, yeah, you absolutely can do that. That was interesting to me. Number one, anytime you have a unanimous vote, you think, okay, everybody's on the same page here.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out in the courts.
Yeah, this is the U.S. Supreme Court. Also, I'm as you know, I love politics. I love this issue because it's not predictably liberal or conservative. Because I'll also say President Trump's response to the U.S. Supreme Court's unanimous ruling was like, I think I'm on the vape side. Or he's on the, what I should say, the business side of vaping. So this isn't a political issue at all. It's more of a health. It's an interesting issue that's making headlines in Utah today.
And that is so seldom the case.
Oh, for sure.
Usually we can grab these like, oh, that's a liberal issue, that's a conservative issue. Coming up next, new data shows it costs nearly $300,000 to raise a kid for 18 years. Holy $300,000. I would never have a kid again. I had 4 of them.
All of our pregnant people listening are like, what?
Sorry, folks. We probably should. We should have probably told you that 9 months ago. $300,000 to raise a kid. Parents, are you stressed out? Yeah, you are. And we'll walk you through why you are and some of the things you can do about it next.
Every year, we seem to have a few people trying to get our free furnace promotion after the sale has ended. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I know you want to save as much money as you can, but that's not how sales work. When they're over, they're over. Lucky for you, we still have a few more spots on our schedule we need to fill, so I'm extending the sale, but I'm not quite sure for how much longer. Definitely no later than April 30th, and once I think our schedule's full enough, I gotta pull these ads, so don't wait too long to call and schedule your free estimate. Just to recap, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. So if your furnace and air conditioner are ready to be replaced, don't be one of those people that wishes they had called and taken advantage of our free furnace sale. The estimate's free, and we'll make sure you have all of the information you need to decide if our free furnace sale is right for you. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
You know when you're racing into the store and someone interrupts you with a petition and you just sign it so you can move on? Stop. Don't sign it. Unions are trying to overturn a law that protects our kids. By signing, you're supporting handing over your tax dollars to big unions so they can push their radical agenda into classrooms. Stop the unions. Stand for kids. Tell your friends and family, decline to sign the union petition. Utah Parents United paid for this ad, not authorized by any political issues committee.
911, what's your emergency? Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son.
On September 12, 1995, McKay Everett disappeared from his home in Conroe, Texas.
There was no sign of forced entry. It was just as if McKay had walked out of his own free will.
And to this day, McKay's mother, Paulette, feels that justice was never truly served. Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Parents, you probably feel this. You probably know it in your bones that kids are expensive. I don't think you had any idea how expensive it is to raise a child. And Mara, fortunately, you and I we're done.
Yeah.
Pretty much done. I got a 14-year-old, but most of my kids are raised. Nowadays, it costs, according to LendingTree, $300,000 to raise a child.
Man.
18 years, count on it. It's going to cost you $300,000. This is food, clothes, transportation, childcare, piano lessons, $300,000.
Wow. That's a big number. I mean, I do feel it. I find it a validating number. I'm like, yeah, it did feel like, and like, as you know, I mean, I'm technically not, providing food, but that just actually isn't true. It just means it's not in my refrigerator. I don't know if I'm being honest, I think my 18 years is extending. I think I'm the chump.
It's growing a little bit.
That didn't give it up at 18 years. Now, what's interesting about this, I'm blown away by this. It's up 35, almost 36% since we last conducted that study by LendingTree.
That is such an impressive number. Like, well done, parents. You are spending a ton of money on your kids.
Holy cow. That is a ton of money. So almost, $17,000 a year just for the little kiddles, not for anything else, just going to them. That seems big. Is it impacting it whether we're having... You have 4 kids, right?
Yeah, we got 4 kids. And we have seen massive reductions in birth rates.
Yeah.
And this has been a trend for a number of years. And when asked, the number one reason is financially. Like, can I financially do this? So what this did, and are kids stressing you out? Yeah, they are. The reason we know this is the Surgeon General a few months back puts out a general advisory to parents. Okay. And it says, parents, you are stressed.
Okay.
Your mental health is suffering. Here are some things you need to take into account. And what we did here, Debbie and I thought we'd make this an hour-long special. So that's exactly what we did. We put together an hour-long special about stressed out parents, and we're going to play it at 4 o'clock on Saturday, just after conference. It's called Mom and Dad Are Worn Out, The Silent Suffering of Today's Parents. And we were talking to moms and saying, hey, how are you feeling right now?
I definitely feel that I am feeling the stress of parenting. A big thing for my family in particular is the financial stress of taking care of our kids, not only now, but long term.
That was Maddie Sosa feeling that financial stress. And then we talked to another mom, Mackenzie May.
My stress level is ramping up for sure. My kids are 8, 6, and 2, and so we're just getting into elementary school in the throes of friendships and sports.
And then wait till you get to the teenage years, and then the young adult years, and then the kids in the 20s. It is such an investment, not just emotionally, but.
And Dave, this number that we cited, 300,000, does not include. So it has rent, food, daycare, apparel, transportation, health care, state taxes. It doesn't include sports, dance, entertainment.
Oh, man, it does. It's worse.
No, I mean, that I was just listening to this. I'm like, oh, yeah, because it is, even if you are trying to be mellow about what your kid does, it is crushing to have them do all the things you want them to do, play music, whatever creative endeavor they want to do. That number doesn't include that.
So the reason, one of the pieces of data that just stood out to me more than anything, and part of the reason the Surgeon General is talking about how stressed out we are as parents, is wrap your head around this. A full-time working mother today will spend more time with her children than a stay-at-home mom in the 70s.
Really?
Is that as shocking a number as you've heard?
That's a mind blower. Okay, wait. So a full-time working mom today spends more time with her children than a stay-at-home mom did in the 70s.
Wrap your head around that one.
I just want to point out to my stay-at-home mom who raised me in the 70s, I don't want to make a big deal of it, but apparently I gave more care to my children than I received, and I think it's showing. That's a fascinating fact, though. Because I am raised in the 70s with a full-time mom. That's so interesting.
So what happens, and the reason this is the case, is back in the 70s, what would be very normal is mom and dad would go play tennis. And they would play tennis together, or they'd play tennis with their friends, and the kids would be at the park. Yeah. And they would be playing, or they'd be riding their bikes around.
Running feral, whatever we did for that time.
Totally.
Yep.
Now it's family pickleball.
You're right.
If I'm playing pickleball, you're playing pickleball, and you're playing, come on, buddy, we'll teach you pickleball, we'll play together. And what that does is it prevents us from having some of that separation and that downtime. Because it's always, on some level, we are still parenting. Hey, I'm teaching you how to play pickleball. I'm teaching you how to be a good sport. I'm teaching you. And now there's recommendations. If you're watching television, this is the latest one that came out from the pediatric guys. It says if you're watching TV, sit down and watch TV with your kids. Watch Bluey. And then when something pops up, you pause the show and have a discussion about that topic. So I'm like, now I can't just have Bluey babysit my kids?
I am so relating to what you guys are bringing to the forefront here because it's so true. Yeah. And, you have to, you can't even good old-fashioned yell anymore because then you've created the trauma. I'm now flashing back to sort of those differences. You're right. I mean, the bar for parenting or the behavior that we're supposed to have all the time, the engagement. Oh, you're right. That's a lot of pressure right now.
We talked to a psychologist who's an expert in parenting, and we were picking his brain. What are some of the things that you can do? What are ways that we can de-stress our lives? And one of the top suggestions was parents too often, if a sacrifice needs to be made, they make the sacrifice. Mm-hmm. They don't make their spouse make the sacrifice. They don't make their kids make the sacrifice. They don't let their work make the sacrifice. So they just make the sacrifice. So one of the things is find something that you like to do and then do it.
Right.
So Maddie, one of our moms, like, yeah, I 100% do that. I play soccer.
Yeah, I think a big thing for me is sports. I love to play soccer, so I'm usually in a league of some kind. And that's something that I get to just be one thing. Because I think there are other things that I like to do. I like to cook and I like to make food, but those things are also in the service of others. But when I play soccer, it's really just I get to be one person, one role, one mindset. I got to kick the ball, got to score a goal. So I think that's a big one for me.
And that de-stresses the life.
Right. Right. And the unintended consequences are your kids learned independence. They learn to cope. I mean, I remember, this isn't quite right on, but I remember when one of my kids hit 5th grade, the 5th grade teacher did something with the parents, and I'm going to apply this universally. And she said to us, I am begging you. This year, I need your kids to remember to bring in their homework. I need them to remember to do everything. I am begging you to let them fail in 5th grade, because it doesn't matter. She was like, it won't matter. No one cares what your kid does. I promise he and I will work that out later. She's like, I will not, but if you do not let your kid fail in 5th grade, you are not doing them a service. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Like, you've got to teach your kids how to be resilient adults, and it's really hard to do with a 10-year-old. But that's what the unintended consequence of you also prioritizing yourself is. What great modeling, right?
Yes, great modeling. And guess what? A happier parent is a better parent, I think.
Yeah,
totally. I've been the stressed out dad. Not always my finest moments. not my finest moments. But make sure you tune in. It's called Mom and Dad Are Worn Out, The Silent Suffering of Today's Parents. That's going to air at 4 o'clock here on KSL News Radio did I already say 4 o'clock? 4 o'clock on Saturday. Make sure you tune in. Coming up next, recently the Trump administration made cuts to the University of Utah research funding. $43 million. Ooh. Whatever happened to that? Ooh, we got some good news. A spokesperson for the research at the University of Utah is going to join us next about these massive changes across the country to funding and research universities.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Troy, I don't know if you know this, but we're a big deal.
Are we?
Oh, yeah.
Can you be a big deal and still live with your mom?
Who do you think told me? But honestly, who else but Fishes brings back show pricing on all RVs this far into spring just so everyone gets the best price possible?
That actually is a really big deal. No one does that.
See? We are a big deal.
The sale is a big deal.
The big deal is talking.
Get into Bish's RV for second chance show pricing for a limited time.
We're talking travel trailers starting under $129 per month on approved credit.
Clearance pricing on all remaining new in stock 2024s.
And enjoy 0 payments until July. OAC.
And here's the really big deal. Every RV purchase gets free propane refills for life as long as you own the RV.
Start shoving the best deals now at bitches.com.
Don't miss your very last chance at the best show pricing deals around. Only for a limited time at Bish's RV of Salt Lake and American Fork, where memories begin.
Based on approved credits, 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Stock numbers 89912-81734. Subject to prior sale. See dealer details.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Are they promising you up to 10% growth per year guaranteed for your retirement income? If not, you need a new financial advisor. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hard-working folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 up front or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't work when you're supposed to be retired. And if any financial advisor tells you it's too good to be true, they simply don't have the options we do. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will be visiting Salt Lake on Monday.
Kennedy will be arriving in Utah on Monday with several other Republican lawmakers to discuss Make America Healthy Again legislation. This after Utah becomes the first state in the nation to ban fluoride in drinking water and prohibiting families from using food stamps to buy soda, policies Kennedy has previously endorsed. Utah has shown a widespread support for Kennedy in the past, becoming the first state to qualify Kennedy for the ballot. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
The two teenagers accused of taking part in a murder in Washington City are awaiting extradition from California. Police say the two minors were staying in a vacation home with a third woman who was later found dead inside the unit. The two reportedly drove off in the woman's rental car before being arrested in Los Angeles County. The investigation is ongoing. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, at least 7 people have died after a string of severe storms with heavy rain and tornadoes hit the South and Midwest. ABC's Morgan Norwood reports from Tennessee.
As we head into the weekend, the severe threat is enhanced with the potential for strong tornadoes from Louisiana to Tennessee. Also another high risk for flash flooding from Arkansas to Kentucky. Long story short, this storm is far from over.
The National Weather Service reports there is a flood watch in effect for Tennessee and multiple other states in the Midwest. Your money at this moment. The Dow is down another 3.5%. That is 1,441 points. We're just above 39,000 at 39,104. The S&P is down 4%. The NASDAQ also down 4%. Coming up, we've got some clouds today, and then temperatures warm up. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio. Well, it's the Movie Show, guys, broadcasting live from Sound Sleep today in Sandy. We're joined now by Melissa Lowry from Sound Sleep. We got a great offer for KSL listeners today. A free sleep screening and a free sleep consultation to find out if you have sleep apnea, because guess what? If you do, you guys have a way to fix it without having to hook a hose to your face.
You're right, and we can test you in a really easy way as well. This is an at-home test you get to do on your own pillow, on your own time. Nobody's going to be watching you. That is free. Come in.
Well, that speaks to a lot of people right there.
The FREE or the...
I'll be watching. I would say both of those things.
For
because
sure.
I know people who just they won't get checked because they don't want to go sleep somewhere else.
Yeah,
and now they don't have to.
This is a great way to test.
By the way,
your
it's
own
also
situation.
It also helps to know that it's not that, when you can't sleep normally and then now you're strapped up, it doesn't feel uncomfortable. You're going to be able to sleep like you normally do, which is not good.
Yeah.
But at least you'll be able to sleep somewhat.
Correct. So this is your own environment, and it's a free test, but it's also very comprehensive. Yeah. It's a real test. It's not just free. It's legit. But then we fix sleep apnea, not with the machine, like you said, the mask and the hose and all that kind of stuff. It's an oral appliance. It's like a custom-made mouth guard. Super easy to use. Very comfortable, and the great news is it's covered by your health insurance. You likely have a benefit you just haven't tapped into, so call in. It's a great deal today.
You could say it's the 3 C's: comfortable, convenient, and covered.
Correct.
I like those 3 things.
I like that too.
So 801-716-8672. You can make that appointment, and if you do it during the movie show today, between now and 1 o'clock, You'll also be entered into a drawing to win a Sleep Better gift basket.
Yeah, this is a really nice basket. Includes a purple pillow, a minky blanket, $50 Amazon gift card. We're going to put you into that drawing just for calling in.
So call right now, 801-716-8672 for Sound Sleep.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like fences. A house with a big yard and a white picket fence was always the dream. But then you saw the price to install a fence and you're wondering if the color is driving the price up. Nobody ever dreams of a beige or a gray picket fence, right? So maybe those fences are cheaper. But no, they're not. Then you remember that switching your home and auto to Progressive could save you hundreds and make all your dreams of a fence come true. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers, not available in all states.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Right now, water heaters are on sale at Any Hour Services. Schedule a free estimate today to see how much you'll save. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account with built-in benefits. And here's Heather Kelly.
There's no slowdowns anywhere across the Wasatch Front right now. You've got good speeds on I-15, the east and west side belt routes, the 201 freeway. Roads are still a bit damp and wet in the higher elevations of Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons, and we even see some snowflakes still going through there, even though the sun appears to be shining as well. The only issue is if you're coming out of Idaho, southbound I-84 toward Tremonton, you do have the right lane and shoulder blocked due to an earlier vehicle fire. Water belongs in pipes, not in your yard or on your floor. Call Utah Utility Pro, your leak detection and repair specialist. Water, sewer, main, and gas lines. Utah Utility Pro, utahutilitypro.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today's high expected to be 53 degrees. Tomorrow, more sunshine with a high of 55. 61 on Sunday, and we're back in the 70s for next week. Right now, it's 41 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Let's talk about research and research up at the University of Utah and the funding. It has been such a wild ride for these folks. I feel a little bad for them because President Trump and the administration has been looking at universities and research and money and grants that are available and have been slashing across the country. In fact, Columbia University had 400 individualized research grants destroyed, ended, costing about $250 million.
And these are immediate. I mean, this is not we'll give you several months to transition. If you're interested in what sorts of things at the University of Utah specifically were being stared at is critically ill babies in rural communities, the disproportionately high rates of skin cancer in remote areas in Utah, additionally brain injuries for combat veterans, cancer affecting those living in poverty, why cardiovascular disease is more prevalent among Black individuals. These are the kinds of active research that were going on at the University of Utah and until mid-March, in which the Trump administration sent out a letter that said, hey, your grants, they're going away.
So this is where research institutions all across the country are wondering, okay, well, what is going on? What's going to live? What's going away? What do we do with our existing research? This was supposed to be 10 years, and it can be frustrating. And the University of Utah was looking at perhaps $40 million, $40 million of this grant being revoked. So we wanted to check in with the University of Utah and see what do things look like right now for the University of Utah when it comes to research funding, and how are you dealing with this? Julie Kiefer joins us right now, spokesperson for research at the University of Utah Health. Julie, thank you so much. Help walk us through first, because we saw the early report saying that there may be $43 million worth of research grants that may be cut. Do we have any kind of update on this?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. And you said this is a wild ride, and I think that's exactly a great way to describe it. Things are very dynamic and changing all the time. Where we are now is there have been at least 10 grants that have been terminated. And as you said, these are grants, cumulatively worth tens of millions of dollars, doing research that is meant to benefit, people in our state and people across our country, especially people in areas that it's more difficult for them to access health care. So people in rural Utah, frontier areas in the Mountain West area. And so we think this is really important work that needs to be done to help them and to help our region. And like you said, many of these, the way this has come about is, the federal government has awarded grants to different researchers at the U, and often these grants are for a length of 4 years, 5 years, sometimes 7 years. And what we're seeing is that now the government is coming back in the middle of these cycles. Maybe these people are in year 2, year 3 of their work, and the government saying this grant is being terminated immediately. And so that means that it has implications for, whether those researchers can continue with their work or not.
So, Julie, I want to talk more about some of the subjects, but before we move on to that, can you give us can we crack the door open a little bit on the morale? I mean, I cannot imagine being a researcher who has sort of dedicated my life to a topic. I get a grant awarded for 5 years, and I have never been so happy. And I'm on year 2, and I've planned these 5 years, and then it's gone. What's it been like as a university to try and keep the morale up and try and keep the focus going?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. I think that's really important. I think everyone needs to remember that the people who are these researchers are Utahns. These are people, these are our neighbors, and they are in this work because they want to help people in Utah and they want to help people in this country. And so they're doing the work for all the right reasons. And all of a sudden they're being told that, I'm sorry, you can't continue this work, or at least we're not funding this work for you anymore. And so it's very unsettling. These are people's life's work, their life's ambitions, kind of the rug is being taken out from under them. So it's unsettling for those researchers for sure, but it's also creating an environment of uncertainty, all across the university and the research community, just because we don't know what's going to be next. It's been very unpredictable, and there are bigger changes happening, like you mentioned, across the country and, at the administrative level in the federal government that are having bigger impacts as well.
With a lot of these cuts that have happened, these government cuts, the cuts to contracts, research funding, what we have seen is maybe an initial cut, and then they come back and they're like, never mind, we'll bring this one back. Has any of that happened at the University of Utah?
Yeah, so we were very fortunate. There was a large grant that was cut. That was a $38 million 7-year grant. And this was really important work because that grant in particular is kind of an infrastructure grant that supports a lot of other research projects across the university and actually across the region. And so, for example, they were involved in supporting clinical trials 550 clinical trials last year that reached 7,000 people, across the Mountain West region. So really fundamental work. And they were told they were just finishing year 2 of their 7-year grant, that their grant would be terminated. But I think, one thing we wonder is happening is if there's a misunderstanding about what some of this research is about. And in that particular case, leaders at the university, the researchers, and other people involved in that work were able to clarify with the federal administration, why this research is so important and how critical it is. And in that particular case, they were able to restore that funding. So we were very, very grateful that was able to happen.
Can you give us a sense of the types of research that you're maybe still uncertain about or worried about? What are you looking at in terms of maybe potential programming or studies that you think may be subject to cuts?
Yeah, it seems like some of the cuts are centered around research that is meant to benefit communities or groups that have maybe more difficulty accessing health and healthcare than other groups. So one example of that is, people in our rural communities who are, physically far away from hospitals and clinics, and so just don't have that access to care like we do here in Salt Lake City or other urban areas. And so, programs in particular, like, the Utah and actually the United States has a surprisingly high rate of deaths of mothers and babies during pregnancy and after pregnancy. And so there are some really fantastic programs, research programs here at the U that's focusing on lowering those rates. And that means, in particular, going out to those communities that are at highest risk, and that's our rural communities, Native American communities, and providing them the specific support and care they need to get through that critical time, so that they can make it through their pregnancy in a healthy way. So that's one example of the types of programs we think are at risk.
We're speaking with Julie Kiefer, who's a spokesperson for the research at the University of Utah Health. And as we've seen massive grants across the country, hundreds of millions of dollars being cut from research universities by the Trump administration, we wanted to get an idea of what's happening at the University of Utah. And this was brand new information, that the restoration, bringing back that $38 million grant that was canceled, is obviously huge news for the University of Utah. But I have a question for you a little bit about research. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a researcher, but when you look at some of the headlines, I saw this in Cato Institute blog. It was talking about the National Institute of Health, and the National Institute of Health hands out a ton of money in grants, but they funded a study, $533,000 on effects of meditation from reading Buddhist texts, $1.5 million to develop a smartphone game for parents that had picky eating habits for kids, $387,000 to provide Swedish massages to rabbits. We hear some of these things, and as a layman, as a non-researcher, as a non-scientist, I look at these, I'm like, yeah, that's my money. That's my. How do you justify, or how do you look at some of these things? Because it does seem wasteful to spend $371,000 to figure out whether or not moms love dogs or their own children more.
That's an interesting way to put it. And I think one thing to get across is that I think every researchers do understand that, this money comes from the taxpayers ultimately. And so they do feel a responsibility to do their best work and work that is important and that will make a difference. When you see work that's summarized in that way, it makes me wonder, what are they not saying about the research, right? I haven't seen reference to those studies in particular, but, my feeling is that they've pulled out some part of what's being done and, made that as sort of an example of something that seems wasteful. But, actually, if you're thinking about, whether Buddhist texts can, provide support, it makes me think about, I think there's a lot of, there are different ways that people can get the mental health support they need, get community support that they need. And, just like anything, we need to have scientific evidence. We need to have data to understand what works and what doesn't work. And so, perhaps that was one example of something, kind of a larger study where they're examining and comparing to different things that we know can help, but now we need to understand how and why. And once we understand that, then we might be able to develop other ways to provide that type of support to more people.
Oh, I appreciate. Please go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I was just going to thank you so much for joining us. It's one of those things. There's not a lot of research universities here in Utah. University of Utah Health has had such an incredible history. Medical breakthroughs, whether it's the drug development for HIV to combat AIDS, the artificial heart, right? Pioneers in that technology, the invention and implantation of the first artificial heart, the bionic leg, right? Incredibly, this is what comes through so many times. And I realize not all research turns up the bionic leg, but it's one of those things to realize. You never quite know where that research is going to take you and what it might lead to.
Right. Yeah, that's a super important point. And that's the special place that universities have in the research kind of pipeline, right? Universities are at that place where they can do the exploring. They can come up with the new ideas. They can dream big and see what comes out of it that can really change everything moving forward. You illustrate some great examples that came directly out of University of Utah research. But we can also just think about on a broader scale, some of the treatments for cancer, really exciting new advances in medical treatments that go back to looking at our DNA code and understanding, how we can modify treatments based on that information that's woven into us. And, that type of, those are making huge advances in the medical world. And those all came from laboratory research where, somebody didn't necessarily know that the research was going to head in that direction, but they, were able to come around to that and see the potential and then run with it. And so, often these ideas come from universities, are taken to a critical step within the university environment, and then sometimes they're handed off to industry and other partners from there to bring it out into the real world.
It has been so nice talking to you today, Julie Kiefer, spokesperson for research at the University of Utah Health.
Yeah, this is a great piece of news, right? I didn't realize that this $38 million grant that had been revoked
had been restored.
Mm-hmm. And that obviously we should look at research. We should look at this funding and take it seriously, right? Because you read some of these headlines, and this one, I love this one too. National Science Foundation, $856,000 to train 3 mountain lions to use treadmills, because they wanted to study mountain lions' use of energy while hunting.
So her point was well taken, though, is that I don't think there's anyone out there who's wanting to waste their time. And so I don't know that these are accurate reflections of the overall outcomes that we're looking for in research, or if they're bits and pieces of the whole. And so I do think one of our big challenges is getting good information. And I still am going to criticize the process that the federal government is taking. I mean, to cut off someone's research that they've been working on for decades and to give people 2 weeks to readjust, I think where there's bad process, there's bad outcomes.
Yes, but we also have looked at, this is a $1 billion industry. Billions of dollars goes into research, and we have seen some incredible results. But we've also seen probably complete and total failures. And maybe that's part of just research in general, right? You have to throw some stuff against the wall, see what sticks. But when you're talking about billions of dollars, and this is taxpayer-funded stuff, we can't just assume that they're all worthy projects, right? I mean, no other industry that we would look at, any company where would we say, you're batting 1,000 with all your ideas.
But there is no scientific method, even if you're Steve Jobs, in which failure isn't an advancement, right? New is defined and success is defined by failure. I mean, you must figure out what doesn't work. If you look at the genome work, and I mentioned this because the University of Utah has a long history of breaking records. And as you know, we have a Nobel laureate. I mean, I think anyone at that level of research is going to tell you about the failures that they've had or what brought them. I mean, really breakthrough technology is based on failing a lot until you didn't.
One of the greatest commercials I ever saw in history was a Gatorade commercial with Michael Jordan that talked about all the games he had lost, all the shots he had missed, all the championships and playoff losses. And the entire commercial was talking about his failures.
Right.
Because that's what it took to make him a winner.
Discovery is an amazingly elusive thing to find, and research is about discovery. So yes, should we be diligent? Yes. Should there be a purpose? I mean, I don't think any of us disagree with that. But really, I mean, what we're not talking about is what this was. I mean, this was a politically motivated targeting of types of research that the Trump administration doesn't find appropriate. Now, he won the election and it is his prerogative, but it's not science-based, it's politically based.
Yeah, and it very interesting, and obviously hits very close to home here with the University of Utah and the great research that they've done for so many decades. Up next, could you get rid of your smartphone? Like, let's, honest to goodness, get rid of your smartphone. We take a look at younger adults getting rid. Yeah, I'm not talking about old people like me getting rid of my smartphone. Don't you dare touch it. We're talking about younger adults making the choice, not because they're broke, but to get rid of their smartphone, get back to the early 2000s, switching back to the dumb phone. Let's go old school, the dumb phone.
Healthcare with human kindness is here. It's at Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Together, we have a common purpose, partnering with you in health and healing using powerful medicine, powerful technology, and the greatest power of all, human kindness. You'll know it when you see it, because human kindness is in every care site and in every caregiver. Common Spirit Health. Hello, human kindness.
When you choose Performance Automotive in Bountiful, you're choosing selection, convenience, and exceptional service. With 3 locations, Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, and Performance Toyota, Performance Automotive is here to serve your needs. Performance Automotive in Bountiful, where excellence comes standard. Start your search at performancebountiful.com.
Jeff Kaplan. When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
It's the movie show, guys. Andy Farnsworth, Steve Sales, and we're joined by Melissa Lowry from Sound Sleep, where we're broadcasting live today at their Sandy location at 90 South and 700 East. Melissa, tell us a little bit about sleep apnea and why we need to fix it if we've got it.
Okay. First of all, it's a really hard way to live your life. I see patients in the Provo office, and they come in and they tell me how they are just tired all the time and how frustrating that is for them. So that's number one. It's hard to live your life that way. Number two, it will catch up to you as you get older. If you don't catch it and fix it, you're looking at higher risks for things like anxiety, depression, diabetes, high blood pressure, and down the road, even more serious stuff like dementia, heart disease. So you got to find it and fix it, and that's
something
what we
you
do.
wouldn't just normally associate with, oh, I'm having a little trouble sleeping, but you wouldn't necessarily think that that would lead to those other issues.
Yeah, but our body needs oxygen. Our brain, our heart needs oxygen. And if you have sleep apnea and you don't know it, it's making you essentially oxygen deprived all night long. And you have no idea, and it's affecting you in negative ways.
So how do we fix it? First we've got to find out if we've got it.
Find it. Yep, that's part of our deal today. Pick up from one of our offices this kit of equipment. Use it at home in your own bed. It's really easy to use. It's a strap around your chest, pulse ox on your finger, and then a little cannula that goes up to your nose just to measure your breathing. Use that for one night at home in your own bed. It's going to show us, do you stop breathing? How long does it last? You know, Andy, some people stop breathing for like 2.5 minutes.
Ugh, that's
they
just
have
crazy.
no idea.
That is crazy.
I know.
You couldn't do that on purpose if you were awake.
And yet they're doing it while they're asleep. So that's the Find It part, and that's free today. The Fix It part of it is not a CPAP. It's an oral appliance. It's like a custom-made mouth guard. Super easy to use, kind of like bleach trays. You just wear it on your teeth during the night. It will stabilize your lower jaw to keep your airway open. So you're breathing great, snoring, sleep apnea goes away.
So it's simple. To make this appointment, to get the free sleep screening and the free sleep consultation, call 801-716-8672. You make that appointment and you do it between now and 1 o'clock today. When the movie show ends, you'll also be entered into a drawing for a Sleep Better gift basket.
It's a great basket. It includes a purple pillow, minky blanket, $50 Amazon gift card. We'll put you in that drawing. You know, you can call the number, or you can also find us and schedule at soundsleepmedical.com.
So see if you can find it and fix it with sleep apnea by calling Sound Sleep at 801-716-8672.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour: amid escalating trade discussions, members of Utah's delegation are heading on a trade mission to our northern neighbors. KSL News Radio's Alessandra Gurr has more.
Governor Spencer Cox is heading to Canada next week with several state agency heads and local company executives to talk about potential business and trade opportunities amidst tariff uncertainties. Canada is Utah's second largest trading partner, according to the Utah World Trade Center, with $1.7 billion of exports and over $3 billion of imports in 2023.
The trip, which starts tomorrow, will focus on establishing relationships between Utah and Canadian companies and will provide opportunities for Canadian companies to make direct investments in Utah. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: a small town in northeast Kansas is mourning the murder of a Catholic priest. ABC's Brian Clark has details.
Arul Karasala served as pastor at St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church in Seneca since 2011. Thursday, he was found outside the church's rectory with gunshot wounds. The native of India died at a hospital. Law enforcement arrested 66-year-old Gary Hermesh. He's in custody on suspicion of first-degree murder. Authorities have not discussed a possible motive or if the two knew each other. Tulsa's about 300 miles away from tiny Seneca. Brian Clark, ABC News.
Your money at this moment. The Dow has lost, about 3,000 points since it. Well, let me see. Right now, the Dow is down 1,655. That's 4 full percent. So we're below 39,000. We're at 38,891. It's hard to keep up with. The S&P is down 259, which is 4 0.8%. The NASDAQ off 819, which is 5%. Coming up, we do have clouds this morning and temperatures warming up. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time is 10:32. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account with built-in benefits. Heather?
Things looking great all across the Wasatch Front. We want to give a shout out to those of our listeners who have texted in to the KSL Mountain Home Services text line at 57500 to let us know about some of the issues they've seen on the roadways. But right now, there aren't any. You've got good speeds on I-15. Most of the city streets are free and clear. Just some construction barrels you may have to contend with. The future is here. Don't have internet stuck in the past. Quantum Fiber Internet offers next-level speed on reliable fiber network. Fair pricing with no annual contracts. Learn more at quantumfiber.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today's high is expected to hit 53 degrees. Tomorrow, more sunshine and 55, 61 on Sunday. We get up close to 80 by mid-next week. Right now, it's 41 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Saturday, 1 to 2, we're going retro, folks. No, it's not like an hour-long documentary on Free Britney. It's not what it is. There's an hour-long, produced by the great Caitlin Johnston, my producer, called Unplugging from Social Media, Moving Back to the Dumb Phone. Are you kidding me? Are we seriously considering moving back to the dumb phone? Let me hear the pitch.
It's happening. It's already happened. There's a community of younger adults who are sick of their phones, and Jessica Lowell and myself look into this. And we looked into their experiences and why, and also how we can have a better relationship with our phones and screen time altogether.
Okay, so when they quit, what are they saying happens to them?
We heard a mix of results. Boredom was a big thing, but not necessarily in a negative way. Like, do we remember how to be bored? Because think about that. When was the last time you really sat in silence without your phone and the internet pinging at you? It's peaceful. And it allows you, to be more creative and do more hobbies with your hands, knitting, things like that, cooking, reading. I feel like there was a good response of just, opening the mind for other things.
Yeah, boredom could also just be where I'm looking for time. I was thinking about that. I was waiting for somebody. I was in my car. It was a sunny day. And I was, of course, reading articles on my phone while I was waiting because he was late. And I don't know what tripped me up, but in the middle of it, I thought, you know what? Back in the day, I would just be sitting and waiting. I would have 10 free minutes.
Yep.
And now I don't. I have 10 minutes of catching up on my email or reading something or going, let's be honest, onto social media.
We are always distracted. Yeah.
One of the things, maybe this is like a social thing for me. I like to see people squirm. But if I'm standing in a line, I love talking to people. I'll just start up conversations.
You're the worst.
And I'm the worst. And people are like on their phone, and I'll make some quippy little comment, and it startles them like I hit them with a taser. Like, it's so shocking. We're so out of that. But I remember this was my mom's move. She wants to make friends with every person alive. Okay. Like, hey, we're going to be besties. So I kind of get a kick out of it. I guess maybe that's the behavior I model, watching her do it. And it is kind of fun to see people get out, but then we enjoy and have a good conversation. We never do that because it's you're on my phone, you're on your phone, I'm on my phone. We're just not looking at each other, and we don't have these organic interactions.
What you just said is a big reason why I was interested, and I kind of took my own personal journey and took social media off my phone. I have not gone the lengths of dumb phone. I would love to, but I felt like I was lacking in-person connection. I live alone, so that is one factor to it, but I had Snapchat, I had Instagram, and I was checking my friends' stories, and I felt like I was connected to them and I could see their updates on social media, but I really wasn't. I didn't check on them directly. I didn't call people as much. And then so when I took just social media, that's my personal comparison that I can bring. I realized I'm isolated. I don't know what's going on out there. I don't know what's happening in the world.
Was it stressful though? Like when you first, you felt left out?
Yeah, at first it eased. I eased into it. It was after a couple of days. Like you kind of, you realize you don't know what you're missing after a couple of days, so that helped. But it encouraged me to think outside the box and like text my friends directly, call them. I went crazy on Valentine's Day and I called my friends and told them Happy Valentine's Day. It was the scariest thing I'd ever done. I don't know why it was scary, but it's an example of, are your relationships actually digital and artificial, or are they, being fulfilled in person?
Were they surprised by these calls?
Yes. I have video of it that I could probably share, but yeah, they were kind of like, "What's going? Hello,
are you okay?"
Yeah, and then they were like, "Oh, that's so sweet of you." But yeah, we're all just unsure how to handle that. So that's one big factor for me.
You took a month off of social media.
Mm-hmm.
You learned some incredible lessons. You talked about more time for knitting. I didn't realize you were.
I don't knit. That was one example. Other people did. I would love to, but doing just things with your hands.
What about hobbies, though? I mean, I wonder if by getting off of social media, did you find that you had more time for hobbies?
Yeah, well, I feel like we sit in, I don't know, my generation doom scrolls, and I felt like it was too loud, so that was why I wanted to shift off. But you think you're so busy and you're going all the time, when really you're spending 2 hours on social media, and you want to read these books, you want to clean this thing, all of these things that you think you don't have time for, you actually do when you take social media out of the equation. So for me, it was reading, and you could say like watching a movie isn't productive, but I want to watch more movies that I've been talking about, things like that, and just going outside. Think of that. How crazy.
Okay, so I need help on process, because I philosophically I'm there, right? I'm totally there.
I love how Mara always goes back to process.
I'm like, I do. Okay, how do I let go of this?
You're the most practical person I know.
Yeah, I need to know. I need a path. And so flip phones. So flip phones are currently available to me, but I wouldn't have my schedule.
Yeah.
How do I do this?
So that is, I think, a personal journey, because I agree with you. I went and looked. They're cheap too. They're less than $100.
Okay.
The flip phone
for
is.
some
Could
of
you
them.
have a dual plan in your research?
I think you could. I mean, this is something I've thought of.
Okay.
I think you could keep your smartphone and then have the cheap flip phone on the weekends, maybe.
Yeah.
Some people have talked about switching the SIMs over, so you still. I don't know how that technically works, but I've seen people do that.
Okay.
And if you can't take the total plunge of going to the dumb phone, I think just what I'm currently working on and what the licensed psychologist from Huntsman Mental Health kind of talked about a little bit is just really self-reflecting and using social media with intention and asking yourself why you're using it.
Let me play a little bit of that from that psychologist, Magenta Silverman.
But when I slowed down and asked myself, why am I looking this often, this long? Why do I even want to post this? And I became more curious about that motivation. That really helps me to see maybe there were some things I was actually avoiding in my life. And that's why I found myself on it so often. Or maybe I was seeking connection, and was there a more effective way for me to connect with someone than to post on my Instagram story?
Is there a better way to connect?
Mm-hmm.
And I would absolutely, there is.
Yeah, so I think that there's different levels here. It could be the total flip phone.
Mm-hmm.
It could, if you can't see yourself going that way, you can find the middle ground, delete all the apps on your phone. I don't think you need social media on your phone.
True.
I've just recently re-downloaded, and I'm kind of getting to the point of like, this is taking over my life again. But it's really just being intentional about why you're using it and what you're using it for, and is it controlling you or are you controlling it? And that's just a question I'm continuing to ask myself. And what are you avoiding? I realized when she said that to me, I was like, there's a lot. So there's a lot of questions to ask yourself with this, but we can take control over it.
Yeah, that is true. How many times are you on your phone and didn't conscientiously get there, right? Like where you're like, oh, the second there's a pause in my day. So that pause could be waiting for an appointment. That pause could be at a stoplight, if I'm being honest. Like how many times instead of listening to the music, I, for whatever reason, reach for the phone?
Yep.
You're so true. This is great. Okay, so this is on Saturday.
Yeah, and there's more details from personal experiences on the dumb phone that you should listen, and
good.
more from Dr. Silverman. A lot of great advice, and I really had a lot of fun doing this.
I'm looking forward to it. Saturday from 1 to 2, unplugging from social media, moving back to the dumb phone. And I'm just chuckling when you were talking about process, when you were talking, okay, how do we actually do this? And I just remembered at one point in my life, I had purchased a Franklin Day Planner.
Nice.
Right? So, it wasn't always my phone. It wasn't always an alert that said, Dave, you've got a meeting come up. Don't forget about it. But Caitlin, thank you so much for doing this. Jessica Lowell did this with you as well, who's one of the producers for Jeff Kaplan. and I look forward to this. So, yeah, Saturday, 1 to 2, unplugging from social media, moving back to the dumb phone. When we come back, let's check in with the KSL Movie Show, guys. What's the big movie? Oh, my goodness. It's going to be a huge movie because your kids love this game more than they love their siblings. It's Minecraft.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hoped it'd go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Today, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission. Free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Dave and Dujanovic. The following preview has been rated G and is appropriate for all audiences.
It's time to talk movies with the Movie Show guys. Andy Farnsworth and Steve Sales, hosts of the KSL Movie Show. Oh, man, there's a movie coming out that I am both terrified of, a little bit excited for my children, because this is video game movies typically are awful. Can we agree with that?
Well, I mean, some definitely
Andy?
are. They've gotten better.
He didn't
Andy,
agree.
you guys.
Some definitely are.
Because
Not
there's
all of
been
them are
two
bad. Did you
doesn't
hate
mean-
Mario?
Like I said, there's been two. I'm sure there's another one out there, but
What
I've
about
seen
1995's Mortal Kombat?
That's what I'm talking about. That's what you just made my point, Andy. But there's a video game. It may be the most popular video game since Pac-Man.
True.
Minecraft.
My nephew would give up the rest of the family if he could have all access.
I don't know. Who needs brothers and sisters?
Who needs anybody?
It's all about Minecraft. They are making the movie. Walk us through. Please tell me it's more Mario than Mortal Kombat.
Wait, you're saying Mortal Kombat as if that was a bad movie? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so here's what you got. You've got the director of Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre, Jared Hess.
Yay.
Is the director of this movie. He's reteamed with Jack Black, who they made Nacho Libre together. And Jack Black sells out. Not sells out like a sellout. He sells out in the role as in like he commits. He doesn't treat it at all like it's stupid or weird. He's sincerely enjoying himself in the movie and playing Jack Black.
To the point where if he's not in this movie, it doesn't work.
There will be some who would argue it still doesn't work.
Oh.
But this is the main thing. Okay, so first of all, it's the basics of the story is that a guy named Steve discovers the overworld in a mine. And he finds this little thing, and it opens a portal, and he goes to a place called the overworld where he can create whatever he wants, just using his imagination. Well, at some point, he discovers there's another realm called the Nether that where they just mine gold all day. and he gets captured, and he ends up.
They're the bad guys.
Yeah, they're the bad guys, as bad as it gets in this movie, because this is a movie aimed at kids, and he needs some help from the real world, and thankfully Jason Momoa and Wednesday's roommate from the TV series Wednesday on Netflix shows up along with Wednesday's roommate's little brother to help out. That's pretty
and the
much
real
the
estate
bare
agent.
bones. And a real estate agent. Yeah. So it's set in Idaho initially. You've got tater tot references in the movie
everywhere.
So you got a Jared Hess movie all the way. And my joke is, this script was probably 15 pages, and one of the pages is Jack Black ad-libs. Another is Jack Black and Jason Momoa play off each other, because that's what a whole bunch of this is them just having a good time.
And the guy's name, Momoa's character is named Garrett, but half the movie he's calling him Gargar or Gargar or whatever. You know that wasn't in the script. He's just making stuff up.
Exactly.
So, Dave, when you and Andy and Steve let me guest host on Fridays, I feel like it's my obligatory lame role. And so I'd like to lean into being the lame one. My big question is, how long is this movie? For how long would I have to sit to watch this movie?
God, it's under 2 hours. I think it's
Okay.
barely above.
101 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's an hour and 40?
Yeah.
It didn't feel that long. I'm not
Okay.
going to lie.
Okay.
But there's also Jennifer Coolidge has a hilarious supporting turn in this. I thought she was really funny. One of the Minecraft people who doesn't speak gets loose into the real world, and Jennifer Coolidge hits him with her car and then takes him to dinner so that he won't sue her.
All right, so I've learned a few things about this cast. Number one, Jack Black typically is pretty awesome, and I love Jack Black. I think he's hilarious. Jason Momoa, can he pull off funny? Because I didn't know that Thor, Chris Hemsworth, could pull off funny until I saw him in Ghostbusters. I'm like, oh, this guy's hilarious. And then he became funny even as Thor. Can Momoa pull off funny?
I think so. Okay, here's what my 11-year-old said after the movie. Man, they did Jason Momoa dirty in this movie. But he leans into it. Like, he's playing a caricature. A caricature character. Like, yeah. He's a video game champion who still happens to be super buff, but he owns a video game store that's like old used video games, and it's about to go under. And so he definitely leans into the not the super heroic type. I mean, he's wearing a pink jacket with what are those tassels hanging off of it. But he's in on the joke, and he's having a good time too. Look, it helped. None of this movie takes itself seriously at any point, and that, in my opinion, works in its favor. But it also doesn't. I don't think Steve may disagree with me when we go into the full review on the movie show. I didn't think it aimed outside of its target audience at all. Like, they didn't say, let's see if we can bring in the couples out on a date who are in their 50s.
Probably smart.
But I don't know anything about this game, and I was entertained. I thought the energy was there. Jack Black just brought everything he had, and he like Andy said, he sold it, and that was the crux for me. If Jack Black can tell me what's going on here, and I feel good about that, then I'm in, and I was.
I'll look forward to it. Thanks, guys. Okay, so before we get out, we got a couple minutes left. Obviously, we lost Val Kilmer. He's been ill for a long time. He passed away. And you've got to address Val Kilmer movies, right? Is that the big question of the week?
That is our big question of the week. In honor of the late Val Kilmer, what is your favorite Val Kilmer movie?
Of course it's got to be, this is going to be the most popular one.
You guys really are cowboys. What's your problem, Kazansky? You're everyone's problem. That's because every time you go up in the air, you're unsafe. I don't like you because you're dangerous.
That's right. Ice, man. I am dangerous.
Top Gun. That's where my mind goes.
You can't hear Iceman clench his teeth in that weird way he does in that scene. Like,
clicks his teeth,
He didn't want to do that movie, by the way. He said, this is dumb. I'm not doing this.
He was only on screen for 10 minutes in that movie.
Really?
What? That's crazy.
Yep. 10 minutes.
Were 8 of those minutes the volleyball scene?
I think so.
He had the baby oil concession.
All right, so the big question has got to be what? Favorite Val Kilmer movie? That's it for sure. Okay. I said something, and then Andy, you and I were talking earlier, and when I said it, I felt so good about it, and then you obliterated my idea. So my favorite was The Saint. I loved him and Elizabeth Shue in The Saint, where he plays multiple roles, kind of this chameleon. I thought he was great in that. I love that show.
I would have loved to have seen a sequel to that, or him being able to play that character again, because I did enjoy that movie a lot. It's really underrated, and it sort of disappeared in all the 90s action films, but that one was pretty good.
And then
But then I was like, Dave, there's only one answer to this question. There's only one. And
Are you pulling a Dave now?
It is Tombstone.
He's right.
He's right.
He's absolute. Doc Holliday is probably a top 3 character for me of all time. Like, if I think of great characters that I will never, ever forget, I'm your Huckleberry. Like, Doc Holliday in Tombstone.
Why, you're no Daisy at all, Johnny Ringo.
So fantastic. Oh, Steve, can you improve upon that?
No, I can't. But I do like my favorite character name in the history of Val Kilmer has to be Mad Mardigan from Willow, where he met his wife Joanne
Whalley. Joanne
Whalley. Whaley, isn't it?
Is it Whaley?
I think so.
Oh.
Yeah, they met on that set, and he had the big hair and all that. I thought that was a pretty cool role.
Okay, well, I had forgotten how many movies he was in. Mara, you were a big Doors fan?
Yeah, I didn't mind. Yeah, that was good. I'm going to go Tombstone on the list that you're reminding me of.
My son right now is in Atlanta, Georgia. He's living in a little city called Griffin. They, honest to goodness, have a Doc Holliday museum.
Nice.
Do they
I'm
really?
like, buddy, I am so jealous right now. The only thing I know about Doc Holliday is what I've learned from Tombstone.
It's ironic that Dennis Quaid got nominated for Best Supporting Actor playing Doc Holliday in the Kevin Costner Wyatt Earp movie, yet I think that Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday is far and away better.
1,000 times better.
Agreed.
Yeah. Has anyone seen Wyatt Earp? Yeah, he's over there walking on water. It's fantastic. Are you kidding me? I can quote Doc Holliday for days. Oh, movie. You know what?
No,
That's all I want to do.
There was a joke headline article, Dave, that said, nation's men honor Val Kilmer by quoting Doc Holliday all day long, just like every other day.
Yeah, just like every other day, no question. All right, Andy Farnsworth, Steve Sales, so appreciate you guys joining us. We look forward to the movie show coming up.
Troy, I don't know if you know this, but we're a big deal.
Are we?
Oh, yeah.
Can you be a big deal and still live with your mom?
Who do you think told me? But honestly, who else but Bitches brings back show pricing on all RVs this far into spring just so everyone gets the best price possible?
That actually is a really big deal. No one does that.
See? We are a big deal.
The sale is a big deal.
The big deal is talking.
Get into Bish's RV for second chance show pricing for a limited time.
We're talking travel trailers starting under $129 per month on approved credit.
Clearance pricing on all remaining new in stock 2024s.
And enjoy 0 payments until July. OAC.
And here's the really big deal. Every RV purchase gets free propane refills for life as long as you own the RV.
Start shopping the best deals now at bitches.com.
Don't miss your very last chance at the best show pricing deals around. Only for a limited time at Bish's RV of Salt Lake and American Fork, where memories begin.
Based on approved credit, 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Numbers 89912-81734. Subject to prior sale. See dealer details.
Well, we're just minutes away from starting the movie show, where we're broadcasting live from Sound Sleep today in Sandy, where if you call during the movie show, you can set up a free sleep screening and a free sleep consultation to find out if you have sleep apnea. And if you do, our friends at Sound Sleep have a solution for you. Melissa, what is it?
It's an oral appliance. You know, it's a big word to kind of mean a custom-made mouth guard. This is not like something you would find online. You know, people have maybe gone to Amazon or other sites to get what we would call a boil and bite. It's not a custom-made mouth guard. It's kind of like a sports thing where you boil it to kind of fit it to you. This is a real medical device. We do a 3D digital